Last fall, actor Dennis Quaid and his wife got some life-changing news. They found out that their newborn twins had mistakenly been given a massive dose of heparin, a blood thinner, at the hospital, and were now on the brink of death. After a few frightening months, the twins are doing fine, and the Quaids are finally speaking out for the first time with 60 Minutes.
We all have this inherent thing that we trust doctors and nurses that they know what they're doing. But this mistake occurred right under our noses, that the nurse didn't bother to look at the dosage on the bottle. It was 10 units that our kids are supposed to get. They got 10,000, and what it did is it basically turned their blood to the consistency of water, where they had a complete inability to clot. And they were basically bleeding out at that point.
But the hospital never called the Quaids, and they didn't find out that anything was wrong until they showed up at the hospital early the next morning and went to the twins' room.
They were working on Boone, whose belly button would not stop bleeding. And while they were trying to clamp it, blood squirted across the room about 6 feet and landed on the wall. There was blood everywhere.
They weren't just given one massive overdose, they were given two massive overdoses.
Two massive overdoses, 1,000 times what they should have, over an 8-hour period that we know of.
Steve Kroft is here to tell us more about his exclusive interview. Good morning, Steve.
Maggie?
This is the most frightening scenario I can imagine.
It was horrible for them, horrible for them. If the kids hadn't made it through, Dennis said that he didn't think he'd ever have another happy day in his life.
And probably, did he feel like he blamed himself? Who did he blame at that moment?
Well, I think he blamed the drug company, and he because of what he considered to be confusing labeling. It's happened before. Heparin is one of the drugs that is most frequently incorrectly administered, where there's a lot of overdoses. And he blames the hospital staff because there were 3 critical systems failures at one of the best hospitals in the world, Cedars-Sinai.
Is this common? Does this happen a lot?
It happens a lot more than people think, and one of the reasons that Dennis is doing this is that he wants to let people know that there are 100,000 people a year who die from medical mistakes in hospitals and nursing homes, which is more people than die in automobile accidents, from breast cancer, from AIDS, and that it's a problem that not many people are paying attention to or doing much to solve.
That's distressing, because what recourse do we have? We're supposed to be able to trust these doctors and nurses.
Yeah.
Right?
The only thing you can do, he's a strong advocate for patients' rights and knowing what's going on. One of his complaints was that they weren't really told about the situation. They had been at the hospital for 2 days, were told the kids were doing fine. They had been given the overdose actually right in front of them earlier that morning, the first overdose. Left instructions to be called and never were. They didn't find out about it until the next morning when they went into the hospital and were met by the hospital's lawyers and some people from the executives from the hospitals and the nurses and doctors.
Luckily, this has a happy ending. Did you get to see the twins?
We got to see the twins. The twins are doing great, miraculously. They were very lucky. The same thing happened to 6 infants at Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis just about a year before that. 3 of the babies died. But the Quaid twins seem to have come through it with no after effects and seem to be thriving.
Wow, thank goodness. Thank you, Steve. We look forward to watching your entire interview with Dennis Quaid and his wife this Sunday on 60 Minutes.